was one young filmmaker, a girl. She came and told me she wanted to become a suicide bomber. And she had an option to become a suicide bomber or make a film about it. So that triggered me to be involved with that production. So that what I thought was like, okay, rather than becoming a suicide bomber, you express yourself, you express that anger, you express the suffocating what is inside through this medium. Like, that has become a very good healing kind of a process or a transforming process. So it's not only cinema as like the viewers or like, just looking at a film that you can bring peace. It's the process is also one step where that we can introduce this filmmaking as a tool to express. So you don't need to make films about like all like good ending, nice message. No, you don't have to do that. You can make films expressing your anger. You can make films like, express what you really feel within. And that can lead into the process of like, making and settling your issues or settling down certain anger in different communities. So that can lead into different discussions later. You may make a bad film, but if you try to express what you feel inside, within, that can really help. So after Mariam speaks, then we can have a little like, questions and your ideas about it. Like why would you make a film and what would you like to do? So Mariam.
I couldn't actually agree with him more, so I'll probably pick up from that point. So the first question I would say that as a filmmaker you'll ask yourself is why are you making what you're making? Why do you want to make what you want to make? And then, because we're here to talk about film production, I will say how do you go about making what you want to make? So regarding this, I would say that of course you all are film students, right? So you all are aware of film history. Okay, so I would say from the very beginning, there have been two ways to look at cinema. One is the capturing of reality, which is life as it is, and the other is eventually looking at cinema as a magical experience or creating magic. So this is something which I feel is very relevant even today. There is no right or wrong, but if you want to capture reality the way it is, which a lot of filmmakers say is the supreme concept of cinema, which is recreating life, I would say that then we get down to how it differs from place to place. So I do feel that if you are in the concept, I would say in the process of writing or directing or producing a film, it's very useful to really, really understand what world it is that you're talking about, to probably go and live with the people you're going to be talking about, to understand who they are, rather than just attempting to write a script in the first place. When you get down to make your film on the set, it's important to know that you started off with a certain idea, but how much of that is really going to play out finally is something which might disappoint you, because it might not happen the way you have it in your mind. So it might be a different kind of film. But throughout this, I would say, picking up from what he said, it is a sense of exploration. So you will realize not only about what you feel, but about the world that you are creating, you're filming, you're trying to capture. So I think it's very, very imperative that you get into the system, you make your films, you allow the camera to roll, you don't stop your process by, I would say, never become a dictator when it comes to cinema. Allow the medium to evolve, allow yourselves as filmmakers to evolve, and at every stage keep your mind open, whether it is the process of writing, whether it is the process of filmmaking, the actual making, or it is the post-production. So I think being open-minded is very, very important as a filmmaker. And that is something which can possibly allow us to talk about peace, because we cannot talk about peace if we are closed-minded and we are fixed with our ideas. So I would say, yes, I agree with him that it is through the process of interacting with another person, with a cinematographer, with an editor, with a co-worker that you can try to achieve peace. In today's day and age, I am really, I would say, a propagator of co-production overall. I do believe that if you work with people across countries, you work with people across continents, you tend to learn more about yourself in that way. And I think we try constantly to create a new kind of cinema. We try to understand ourselves better when we work with people far away from us.
Why don't we show our culture together? So is it any plan in future, like from Sri Lanka, India and Pakistan, they make any kind of movie together in which we can show peace, love, not every time thrill or any negative things. So is there any plan in future?
It's like this. Now, it's already there are many co-productions happening in the region. For example, like the Open Doors, which is in Locarno, and also like they have introduced certain platforms also in Nepal. There are like co-productions currently which is happening with many countries together. So it's getting open to Pakistan through festivals like this. Then only the international filmmakers or the regional filmmakers started coming in.
The government they are facilitating it. The reason is not just because in the festival, like professionally, officially, are they helping out?
Well, what I'm saying is there is no requirement of every time the government has to be involved, part of it. Because as a region, right, we like communicate, we share like, a lot of common cultural affairs. So it's like what has happened to our region is most of the time, if I'm talking about the SAARC region, it is every time that we have been depending on the government to make the communication. Like we don't break the barriers and go and work. But now if you see the art forms like painting, there are like a lot of painters like Pakistani painters who are working with the other groups, like art groups. But like since cinema is become like, it's an industry also in many other ways, but this can be used like, you don't need to wait until a foreign delegation through the Ministry of External Affairs to involve.
The cinema basically is a part, any country can show their culture to a different country. Like we watch Indian movies, so we know about the Indian culture. The same happened here from Pakistan. So that's the reason I ask, why don't we do, you people do it, on high priority. So that will be a good part to get peace in the world. You know, what I mean, so that's reason. So that's all about.
सर मेरा नाम असद ख़ान है और सर एक सवाल पूछना था कि जब भी फ़िल्म की बात आती है तो हमें कहा जाता है कि ये कल्चर, अगर आपको अपना कल्चर दिखाना है प्रॉपर वे में तो मूवीज़ एक बहुत ही अच्छा ज़रिया है. लेकिन जब इंडियन मूवीज़ हम देखते हैं जो कल्चरल होती हैं, हिस्टोरिक होती हैं, तो उसमें जो स्टेटिस्टिक्स होते हैं वो काफ़ी गलत दिखाए जाते हैं. जिस तरह भी पद्मावती की मूवी आई थी उसमें जो अलाउद्दीन खिलजी थे वो भाईजान तो ऐसे थे नहीं, लेकिन जिस तरह से दिखाया गया है तो वो काफ़ी बुरा लगता है कि जिस तरह तारीख़ को मसख़ किया गया था. मोहनजोदड़ो वाली फ़िल्म आई थी उसमें भी तारीख़ को मसख़ किया गया था. तो सर आप इस बारे में क्या कहेंगे?
मुझे उर्दू समझ में आती है तो मैं आपको अपना नज़रिया जो है वो बता सकती हूँ. मेरे हिसाब से जब भी कोई एक फ़िल्म बनाता है तो जो ख़ुद की सोच रहती है वो हमेशा शामिल होती है. तो जो हम कहते हैं वो हिस्ट्री जो है, इतिहास जो है, हिस्ट्री भी है, तो वो भी एक हिसाब से हमें कैसे पता जो हुआ, हमें कैसे पता, हमें कहा गया है, हमने कहीं पढ़ा हुआ है, किसी ने किसी से कहा. तो ये जो बात होती है वो खाली पर्सपेक्टिव की होती है. सो वेदर यू आर मेकिंग अ हिस्टोरिकल फिल्म और यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट समथिंग व्हिच हैपेंड इन योर बैकयार्ड, यू आर ऑलवेज गोना हैव योर वे ऑफ लुकिंग एट द वर्ल्ड. सो आई डोंट थिंक इट्स अ बैड थिंग. But since it is a visual medium and it's open, everyone can have their view. Maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me. That's perfectly okay. But I cannot stop expressing what I feel. And I think the same applies for all the films that you mentioned.
It's a perspective of somebody's interpreting about the event which has happened in the past with the current situations. So the same incident can interpreted in different ways by different people during different times. Now, I'll bring you a very good example. If you have seen a film called Inglourious Bastard, Inglourious Bastard, the film is a group of people go and kill Hitler. But that never happened in the history. But there is an interpretation where that somebody had taken that incident and started interpreting in a different way. It's an interpretation by an artist that how he or she feels about the stories or event which has taken place in the past.
What is the difference between feature film, telefilm and short film? I like to ask the definition of all three of these.
Well, that's also can differ. When you take about, when you say feature film, there is a different length which gives in most of the film festivals. It goes for like more than 60 minutes. So that is different category, like, it's a feature. It's like a novel and a short story. So there are different characteristics in a novel and different characteristics in short story. The same way, like now if you see most of short films, those short films, it has become like, it looks like sometimes a fraction which has been taken out from a feature. Right? So because the reason is most of the young filmmakers, they have a big story to tell, but like, the opportunities are not there to like, make a feature. So it's like, being compressed or like, taken apart. So for me, this is like, my interpretation wise, a feature is like, lengthwise and how you like, develop the story with plots and the subplots, where a short film is a small duration and also focused on like, not going into here and there with many subplots because of the limited time. So even a feature, like, they can be like, a single plot or like, go into multi-plot or many subplots. So currently, like, when we look at the main festival circles in cinema, like it's 60 minutes or more than 60 minutes is a film, but there is no limit. There are films which is made for like 8 hours, 10 hours, those films also there. And the short film is a shorter version where like, you fixed into that. Telefilm, what you mean is it's a very technical word. It's like, when you broadcast, when you telecast, so that's on TV that you see that. So even a feature can be a telefilm at the end of the day. So it's a technical term which has been used by like different industries.
Probably here in Pakistan you all have a very vibrant culture when it comes to telefilms. That is not something which is seen everywhere. Often people might call it soap operas or might call it TV serials, but from what I understand, because I've seen a lot of Pakistani teleplays myself, so they often really deal with one subject and one story, maybe one family setup, but over a couple of episodes. So there is a beginning and there is an end. So quite unlike what a lot of people might think from other countries, I think the teleplays are definitely focused on a beginning, a middle and end character evolution, but it happens through a series of episodes. So in that sense, I would say this is more specific to certain cultures who actually have telefilms.
My name is Padma Ali, and earlier you said that that films are a medium of expression. So I would like to ask, what would you say to people, especially the youth, who find it hard to be expressive because of fear of being judged? What would you say to them in terms of,
I think that in terms of fear of being judged, I would say no matter what you make, someone's always going to judge you. Someone's always going to like or dislike what you've done. And that is not something which should stop you from trying to express yourself. But I think as you keep expressing yourself, that's when you will gradually realize what is it that you want to focus on, who is it that you are, what is it that you want to make. And this is something which should not deter you. But of course, I know that there are certain social structures, there are certain pressures which come out of living in the current world, and we want to keep everyone around us in good books. I mean, it's a very natural human tendency. So I would say that yes, I do consider courage as something which is one of the primary necessities to becoming a filmmaker. Because if you are not courageous enough to put what you feel out there on screen, to film it, to look at it, and to go and support it, no matter what someone else might feel, I think you need to probably push yourself a bit more.
Well, yes, I would agree with that. I'll tell you, like, with my personal experience of when I make a film, or like, when I work as a cinematographer, first thing is when I read the script, I'm not like, really thinking about how would the audience think. I'm thinking about myself, whether this triggers me, like, whether this creates urge within me to make this film. So I always ask the question from myself before making a film. And whatever the work I do, like, which talks to me, then, like, what I believe is, like, if I can convince myself, then definitely, like, the others will get convinced in different ways, in different platforms. So if you're making a film, first thing is you should talk to yourself, like, talking to you and ask, like, yes, does this trigger me? Does this give me the urge to make this film? Then, like, people will take it. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. I hope this was useful. I hope you thought it was worth your time. So thank you to the organizers for this event. Thank you.